So you need to decide at this stage in time how you're going to lay out your picture and your haiku. Is it going to go on the actual picture, or is it going to be something separate? You want to put a border around your image, and I want to show you about how you're going to do all of those things. So there's some new functions in there. So if we go back to, not that one, that's just silly. If we go back to this one, for example, and we wanted to put a simple border around the outside, what you're going to do is you're going to go up into your image, and then you're going to go to your canvas size. If we need to change the size of your image, this is where you do that. But in this case, the canvas is sort of the surface that your image is going to be placed on. So this, again, this canvas size has to do with your artboard where your image is going to be. So I can adjust that canvas size. You can see that it's a pretty sizable image. You can resize these images. I can go into image size and you can see, there we go. It's a fairly large image with a lower resolution number. I could bring that up. My standard for printing is 300, and I could even say, computer's very slow this morning. And I could even change this width to 11, for example. So this would print up a nice 11 by 14. Notice I've got this link in the middle. That means that I'm not going to abnormally misshape my photograph. You want to leave that link so that you don't have any problems with your photograph getting stretched either vertically or horizontally. Okay? So that's a good number for me. All right. Sorry, everything is really slow this morning. Then when we get into canvas size, again, the canvas is going to be like if I took this picture and I put it on a photo canvas or I put it in a picture frame, I could add a little bit of real estate or a little bit of space onto the sides, okay? So that could be where you type your text. That could be just a really pretty color, etc. So when I go into there, I'm going to go into my canvas size now. Now, this is an 11 by 14. So let's say I knew I had a 16 by 20 photo frame. I could change this to 16. I could change this to 20. And then this dot right here represents the picture. So I want my picture nice and straight. And then this is my color. So when I extend the canvas, what color do I want it? I could say, you know what, I'm going to pick whatever this darkest value is here. It falls, you can see it falls in the blue family. It's in part of the water. It's a super dark, rich place. So I can say, okay, and this is what I'm going to get. Let me Control 0 and zoom out. That would be my 16 by 20. It's beautiful. It's got a nice little border around it. Okay? Now the next option would be when I go into canvas size, I could take a look at that. Let's say though I just wanted a little border all the way around, just a little pin, a little pinstripe, maybe a little bigger than a pinstripe. I could click this right here. And this is called, you can see it says relative. It zeroes out these numbers. So I could say I want you to add 1 inch onto the height and width, which would give me a half of an inch here, 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 and here, because it's got to divide it in two. And I could say, okay. So that gives me that small little border around the outside, which is really nice and helpful because I'm going to have just like a nice little added punch to the edge. Let's say I'm going to print that out. Maybe that's a gift. I can also change, and let me, I'm going to actually leave this one out here. Let's say I want a little bit more on the bottom. I'm going to show you if I go to canvas size, I can give myself 1 more inch on the height and then move my picture up. Notice I can click on the arrows and I can move that picture up. So what it's going to do is it's going to send all of that weight that I'm adding onto the height, and it's going to send it to the bottom. You can see that right now. So this stayed exactly the same because I didn't add anything on the width, but it added just a tiny bit more on the height, which is actually a really nice finish. Okay? So that's really how you would go to working on some of these pieces. Okay? So that's changing your canvas. Now, if you wanted to, you could create a new document. I'm going to go ahead and mine again is going to be a little bit different than yours. This was a custom one that I had just made. This is a true, well, I guess it's one of the Polaroid sizes. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll do a simple 5x7. Create. In this, what I could do is I could grab my image. Let's say I'm going to grab this part right here. That's really what I want. I can Control J. Oh, sorry. Let me go here. There we go. I can Control J. That's my copy. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that one. And in this case, I'm going to duplicate it over to the document that I just made, which is my Untitled 2. Okay? I go over to Untitled 2, and there's my picture. Now you can see my picture is really, really, really much too big. I need to edit and transform. Let's free transform that guy. I'm going to hold the Shift key as I drag that to just the perfect size for my image. Let me go ahead and kind of figure out what that would be, okay? So that could be that. Now there's a couple other things you could add onto this, like if you wanted to do a little bit of a layer style, but let's do that last. Let's get to the less fancy stuff, text, okay? So again, about minute 6:22, we're talking about text. You're going to need to add some type in there. And there's a few different options for it. Most of you right now will choose the horizontal type tool, okay? So again, that horizontal type tool, I can come in here and I can click and I can drag a box. I could just click and start typing. So there's a few different ways of working that. But in this case, I already copied a haiku, which is not showing up. Let's see, maybe it just didn't register it. Okay, copy that one. Paste that into there. Let's see what's going on. Now, you'll notice nothing showed up. First of all, didn't show up because it says my text is in white. Let me change that really quick. Let me get it to a black. And my font is huge, so it really was there. It was just kind of fooling me. Let's bring that to something a little bit smaller. And let's maybe put it nice and centered like that. I could put it here. I could also click on that. And sorry, I'm going to need to double click on the T. And I could center justify that. Just right there. And again, that's how I would put my my text inside of there. Notice, there we go. Notice those magenta lines that come up. You'll see that vertical one. That was saying this was nicely centered, which is really, really important when you're looking at laying this piece out nicely. Okay. So again, let me take that step by step. You're going to start with your type tool. You're going to go ahead and click and hold that click and drag a box in the area of which you would like to work. Okay. Turn this guy off. If ever you unclick it, just double click the T and you're right back into that box for that layer. You're going to go ahead and start doing your typing. Okay? And then from there, you could change out your font. You can go ahead and highlight that. You can come up to the top and, oops, sorry, wrong one. You can come up to the top and you can click on, for example, this 28 days later, that first one. Once you're there, I can just click once there and I'm in blue and I could watch the screen and I could use my arrows just like we did with our layer styles, our layer blend modes, and I could watch and I can see how that looks in here and I could say, you know, that's nice and clean. I really like that one. You know, this one, I don't know, it's really hard for me to read. This one's way too fussy. And you really want to make sure you're picking something that is visually appealing. Like, this is cute, it's hearts and it's letters, but it's really hard to read. So keep that in mind as you are going. Including script, again, it's a piece mostly for you that we're going to share out. So if you know how to read a script, or script lettering, handwriting, or cursive, that could be an option for you. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find just the perfect font for that. I can also change my size if I find that I want to make it a little bit bigger. Let's say 18 is too small, but 24 is too big, but those are my only two options there. Nope, not your only two options. You can actually click and you can change that number. Let's say 20 would be perfect, and I press the Enter key. I go ahead and get this guy placed where I want it. I could even use my keyboard arrows just to get it just right. And that's pretty much the ins and outs of adding text. So again, just a reminder, You're going to use your type tool and you're going to go ahead and drag a box where you would like your text. This text could be on your picture. Obviously not the best color choice for that section, so you would want to work on what's going to be your best color choice, okay? Now in this case, I'm then going to go ahead, let me just put that back down here. Again, those purple lines come up when everything is nicely centered. Get that right there. I can go ahead and change out my font style. I know I can do that by double clicking on the T. Change my font style. I could change it to regular, italic, bold, etc. I could change my font size. I can also change the way the font is distributed, if it's left justification, center, or right. Okay? You really want to make sure you're picking that wisely. You can also change out your color by clicking here. You can kind of move anywhere on here and say you want to have it that lovely shade of green, or again, use this little eyedropper tool when you come out to the outside. It'll automatically pop up when you come out here. Pick something that's part of your image and you can see how it changes it down here, and you can see some things that would be poor choices and some things that would be nice choices as well. Okay, so again, those are all options for you to keep in mind as you are selecting what's going inside of this image. Okay, so I'm going to stick with that one. And I'd like to give an advanced alert warning. If you are not feeling so secure, you're going to stop this video. You're going to go ahead and continue working, rewinding and watching again. If you're feeling really confident on this, there's a couple other things I want to toss out there, especially for those of you that want to put your words on your image and are having a hard time seeing it. Okay? So again, at about 12 minutes, we're going to go ahead and just do a couple little options. Not required, but are possible for my advanced kiddos. Okay? Right here, if I double click on this outside, I go ahead and double click here, I'm going to get this little layer styles option. And this layer styles option will give me the option to add in what's called a stroke. When you click on a stroke, I can click on that word, I can actually change that color. Let's say I want to put a little bit of a white outer stroke or like an orange. See what looks good out there. Maybe I'll do that yellow. You can see that image a little bit more. I'm sorry, those words a little bit more. There are other options. So like beveling and embossing. You could do a drop shadow. And the cool thing about this, don't forget, click on the word. You're going to have your menu pop up. I can change, it doesn't have to necessarily be a shadow. I can make it white. I'm going to change that to normal. I can give it a little bit of a bigger size. I'm not really caring for that. So let's move that distance back. Give it a bigger size. I don't want it, I want it to be a little bit more. Let's say you want to give a little bit of a sort of a fuzz around it. You could do that. Okay. Now the other thing I want to show you is a simple color change. If I Control J that layer, I'm going to go here and I'm going to change that one to whatever the complementary color is. In this case, I'm just going to say I'm going to do a quick one for white. Okay? Doesn't look like much happened. I've got this one as my dark, this one as my white. If I'm on my move tool, I can take my keyboard and I can nudge it down and to the left just a little bit. And you can actually see how it helps to make those words stick out just a little bit more. And again, nudge until you're happy with it, but it's really only a couple nudges over and probably down, just to keep that in mind. And those are a couple options for advanced ways to add some text with some flair. And that is it for today, you guys.